at my little studio, Funky D Records, and he called me. He was in town. He was staying at a hotel downtown, and we were going to record a Robert Bradley bass track. And he asked me, he goes, "Do you guys have a washing machine?" And I was like, "Wow, yeah, we do. We have a washing machine." So Don shows up and he tells me this great story, which I'll tell a real short version. He's recording Bob Dylan, and they have George Harrison come to play a guitar solo. And George doesn't know the song. Bob wouldn't let him hear it. And he does a quick solo. And then Don tells me, he goes, "Imagine, Tino, I'm sitting there, and I got Bob Dylan and George Harrison both staring at me, asking me, 'Well, what did you think?'" And he goes, and this was the best thing he's ever told me. He goes, "Tino, if you're gonna be a producer, you gotta know these guys don't hire you to be a fan. They're hiring you to be a producer." So he tells him, he goes, "I think you can do better." And George went out and did a better version of it. So we get in the studio, we start recording, and he's playing upright bass. He's playing beautiful. He does the track, and then he goes, "Tino, what'd you think?" I go, "Don, I'm not here to be your fan. I'm here to be your producer, and I think you can do better." It's a true story. This shit you can't make up. So he does a second take, which was better, and that's the one that ended up on the record, which it's called, it's by Robert Bradley, and it gets a lot of airplay. Aunt Elise plays it a lot on WDET. So anyway, how about it for Don Was? We're glad to have him here tonight. Greg Russell is our host from Channel 4, Live in the D.
Glad to see you all. Like you said, this has just been a fabulous series, and what a great way, to have this one as our finale, at least for this season. And I got to tell you, Gary Graff knows this very well. You all know Gary Graff out there. That when you're about to talk to somebody or do something, you look up, the things that they've done, people they've worked with. I only have one question for you. Who haven't you worked with? It was truly like a who's who of every person. And of course, going along with what Tino said, I'm a big Beatles fan. So when you mentioned, I see George Harrison and Ringo Starr, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is great. This is great. What was it about growing up here that really got you into it? Made you want to do the music?
I just think that because people came here from all over the world after World War II to work in the factories, they brought their cultures with them. And it was just the richest jambalaya of cultures, So we just grew up in the midst of all this incredible music. I guess that was it. I really think that the music that comes out of here sounds different and it's special. It's because of the unique population that the city's got. It's just music that comes from here really reflects what's going on, and music's important here.
Absolutely.
It's good music town.
Don, what's going on with the Pan Detroit Ensemble these days, your latest project?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, man. We just finished a record. We're playing on the West Coast next week after this, and we got shows coming up, I think, in Detroit too, in the middle of October. We're going playing in Japan, going to Tokyo for 5 shows in September. So we're doing stuff.
I know a lot of people that I'm dealing with, you call them and you're trying to get projects happening, and can you do this, can you do that? And a guy will call you back, "Tino, I'm in Flint, Michigan tonight. Oh, okay, cool, man. I'm glad you were able to call in, So we're setting this up and my phone rings in the middle of the night. It's Don Was. He goes, "Tino, I'm in Shanghai, China." I'm not making this up. So is it okay to ask about what that's all about?
Yeah, we we opened Blue Note China record label. It's a cooperative venture. It's really exciting because there's a completely disorganized but really vibrant jazz scene going on with Chinese musicians. And a lot of it would work all over the world too. So the idea is to go there, not try to Americanize it, but do the opposite, to nurture a scene there, to try to set it up so bands can play, do a real tour in 10 cities, and then spread the records to the rest of the world and get that going. So it's high adventure.
Yeah.
And just what you said about Blue Note, I mean, obviously you run Blue Note Records. That has always been an iconic record label, iconic name, especially when it comes down to jazz, blues, and different things like that. Talk a little bit about the future of that. I mean, obviously you want to keep it going, and you got to get, of course, the right people in there.
This is true. When I first got the gig, I had to try to figure out what it was about the music that they had recorded 50, 60 years earlier that made it still relevant, still vibrant today. And it seemed like throughout the history of the label, going back to Thelonious Monk in the late 40s, he's a really great example of someone. They signed people who had mastered the fundamentals of what had come before, but then they had the vision to use that knowledge to create something brand new. Not everybody does. A lot of it just becomes a repeat of what happened before. There's a place for a museum. This is a great, one of the best museums I've been to. I love this place. But so whether it was Monk or the 50s Horace Silver and Art Blakey or Ornette Coleman and Eric Dolphy and Herbie Hancock and Wayne or even, Robert Glasper, 10, 15 years ago doing black radio, they all pushed the boundaries of music and took knowledge and created something new. So our job is to make sure that we got new young artists who are doing that, and we do. We've got some incredible musicians: Joel Ross, Emmanuel Wilkins, Lisa Aldana, Julian Lage, Brandon Woody, who just put out his debut album last week, a young pianist named Paul Cornish. So I feel real good that we're filling the coffers with new music.
That's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, we're just going to keep tonight on having a toast, so there you go.
Don, speaking about Detroit, you recently produced Mitch Ryder's last record. That is incredible, man. His latest record, yeah. And
but he's a hero. I mean, it's time to go.
Time to change classrooms.
I was watching the clock. I got to be on the air live at 8 o'clock with Ann. We're good. Yeah, we got it. What was the question again? So, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but he's such an important figure, not just in Detroit music, but worldwide, man. He's a vital link between rhythm and blues and garage band rock and roll, And those records he made changed the way everybody approached rock and roll. I can think of all. First of all, even just the Detroit bands, man. You think of MC5 and the Stooges. If you break it down, they're basically R&B. They're playing R&B grooves, and they got electric guitars. So that's kind of the essence of the Detroit sound, really. And Mitch Ryder did it first, not just here, but in the world, man. And everyone knows his greatest hits well, but he's built such an incredible body of work that's been severely underappreciated in this country. He does well in Europe. He still goes over and tours there, and we recorded this album for a German label. But he's got some beautiful writing on it, and a couple of these things are clearly meant to say adios to the fans who've stuck with him for 65 years or whatever. So it's a really poignant record, and he sounds great. And just an honor to know him and be his friend.
Absolutely.
I thought you were the perfect guy actually to pull that together.
Thanks.
And I heard some of it on the radio. I was like, wow. And it, it's classic Mitch Ryder, but there's some new vibes in there too. Some fresh stuff going on that really hit me.
You know what's interesting is he's a really sophisticated record maker. He's been doing this for a long time, and he doesn't come in with charts written out. He kind of sat there, and Louis Resto was really important, figuring out the chords he had in mind, but we were really taking direction from him. He had these things in his head, and it was kind of fun to sit there and help him realize it, because he'd let you know when you got to the right place. It was a good feeling. We had a lot of fun, and I think you can hear it in the tracks.
Are you doing any more touring with Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead?
Yeah, we're playing Royal Albert Hall in London with the London Philharmonic on the 21st in 2 weeks. That'd be a good one.
That's a funny story. Don't ask the police officers how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall. They don't like getting asked that question.
I was going to do that too.
Well, Tino and I, of course, can sit up here and talk with you for the next, 10, 12 days. But we also know that there are people out there who have questions. So if any of you have questions, please raise your hand. And if you'll come by, she's got the microphone there for you.
Hi, Don.
Hi.
As a fellow DJ, and you have a show to run to after you leave here, I want to mention that and ask you what made you decide to do that show with Ann, and is there anything since you've been doing that surprises you maybe about the way you feel about it?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I was driving around with her one night, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and we were just talking about what a great job I thought she had, And I told her that my dream when I was in high school was to have Bud Spangler's show on WBET. Bud Spangler, I don't know, he was a jazz drummer mixed up in the Strata group with Kenny Cox and all those people, and he hosted a show late nights on the weekend, and it was the only place in town where you could hear Sun Ra, hear Albert Ayler, hear Coltrane's Outer Experiments, Archie Shepp, and I just thought he was the coolest guy in the world, and what a great gig having that show. And I said, man, I'd quit my gig at Blue Note if I could. And I said, you want that show? You don't have to quit. So we started out in that slot on Friday night, just moved earlier now. The takeaway from it is that, man, I got a lot of respect for DJs that I didn't have. It's just to speak in complete sentences and cohesive thoughts and not say all the time. You have no idea. Even people I detested, like Rush Limbaugh, he was a badass, man. He could just improvise and go for hours. So forgetting the content, he had a real great skill. So I've got newfound admiration. Also, it's a lot of work, man. It's fun. I love doing it, but it takes about a day of the week,
Right.
To plan it out and really go through the records and think about what you're playing. And I assume that people are listening for the full 2 hours, not like on the way to get cigarettes or something. I think about like an arc that lasts 2 hours, and it's fun. It's like, and live radio is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel everybody listening, and it's very much like playing a concert,
Right.
like doing a live gig. It's a little nervous for the first 10 minutes and all adrenalized, and then you settle in, and then you feel the people, and you can feel the energy move, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm imagining people listening out there. It's beautiful, beautiful experience every week. Yeah.
It's something special with live radio, that's for sure.
Would you mind retelling any of the story about you driving Marshall Crenshaw backwards through a blizzard?
You want me to tell you? Want me to tell you that story? Well, I was producing Marshall Crenshaw. I was just getting started. It was like early '80s, '82, '83 or something. And it was a risky move for him because he had a deal with Warner Brothers, and his first album had done really well, but he wanted to come back home and make a record. So we were having kind of a rough time with it, to be honest with you. The machine at Sound Suite was not. Normally you can hit record, punch in on a track. If you're fixing, like when he was doing a vocal, for example, he said, "Let me sing that line again." So you go into record, and then you hit the play button again, and it goes out of record. And the machine was not going out of record. So if we just tried to fix one line, we couldn't get out of it, and it erased the next line. And then we tried to do both of those, and then we erased the third line. And when we erased the fourth line, I just saw, he was in the other room, on the other side of the glass. I couldn't hear anything, but I saw a guitar go flying. And it was New Year's Eve, it was a blizzard, it was just a disaster, and I knew I lost him right there. So I was like, all right, let's just split. So we get in my car, it's a blizzard, and it's this old Lincoln Continental, big kind. It had, the windshield wipers didn't work. I had a screwdriver for the turn signal, and it's a blizzard. And then the transmission went out, and I could only drive in reverse. So we're Puritan, and Puritan, we go to Greenfield, I have to drive in reverse. With my head out the window too, because I couldn't see him. So he thought he was going to die. And we got to 8 Mile, I said, "Hey, you want to go to Amy Joy Donuts?" No. It was horrible. I didn't see him again for years. We joke about it now.
But didn't he forgive you and you ended up getting the gig?
I didn't produce the T-Bone Burnett. It doesn't
Sorry.
We're good friends now.
Good.
It's long forgiven. Yeah.
Good. It's like a great movie script, too. So, one night on 8 Mile in reverse. All right, Becky.
I had to drive him like he was staying at, I think, was it the Northland Inn? Oh, yeah. That was a place, right? And started driving up Greenfield backwards.
Great program.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks for everything. Great program. Don, I was curious as to how you feel about the future of blues, with a lot of the old great blues players getting older and some passing away.
Well, it's a really good question, man. You know, like we were just talking about, I think it's really important to move music forward. And blues is very much like jazz because there's a lot of improvisation with that, right? So when you're improvising, what are you doing? If you're doing it right, every note you ever heard in your life, every song you ever heard in your life, every melody, it's stored up in your brain somewhere. And it's just like a conversation. You're asking me about things, I'm rattling off things that I got stored in my mind. I have different things stored in my mind than you have in yours, and you have in yours. And that's what gives each musician a personality. But if you don't address your experiences and your life in the music, then you're just repeating something, and it's no longer a sincere form of expression. Now, sometimes old songs, they resonate too. So I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, if you're gonna be a writer and an artist, you have to bring your own thing to it and be yourself, because that's what Muddy Waters did. If you all the people you admire, man, everyone's moved the thing forward, even if it's one step. So I firmly believe that there are visionary musicians in every genre out there. I'm not worried about the future of music, let me put it that way. They're great people, and this is actually kind of a great time to get your music heard, because you can sit in your living room and you can make some goofy TikTok thing, and millions of people all over the world will watch it. And it's really kind of populist. It was harder before. It was harder 40 years ago when, you know, well, it was kind of nice that you could pay people, pay disc jockeys. You can't do that anymore. But everyone's got a shot at getting their music heard if they have something real to say. I mean, so I'm not really worried about future music. I'm not worried about AI taking over music. You know, when we were working here over at Sound Suite in 1981, I ended up going to a music store in Dearborn. The guy took me in the back room. He had the first Linn drum, the Linn 1. The Linn 1 was a very interesting machine because it was the first drum machine that didn't try to electronically simulate the sound of drums, but actually used a chip that had digital recordings of drums. So every drummer thought, you might have been too young. I don't know if you remember.
Thank you, but I remember the Linn.
Every drummer thought, you know, if you bought a Linn drum, you might as well have joined the Klan or something, because it was anathema to drummers, man. It was going to put everybody out of business. And we bought it, and we made demos with it and stuff. It wasn't as good as a real drummer. But if you listen to When Doves Cry, actually, I got Linn drum serial number 003, and Prince had been in there like a couple days earlier. He bought number 2. And Prince, if you listen to When Doves Cry, that's a drum part that no drummer ever would have sat down and played that part. I don't even know if you can play that part. It has to be kind of mechanized, and it's the way the Linn drum tuned, you had to actually turn the dial on the tuning thing. Now that was really good use of a technology that everyone thought was going to wipe out musicians, and it hasn't wiped out musicians, and it's just another color on the palette to paint with, and that's what I think about AI too. I've heard all of this, the sound of like fake Drake, and that shit's funny for about 10 seconds, and then you don't hear it anymore. You want something real. So I have done some stuff working with AI where I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own, but you shape it and you come up with something different, and it's a cool thing. So I'm not worried about it. I believe that emotional, soulful music will prevail.
John Lewis.
And on that
note,
thank you all for coming. It was really good to see you. Thank you.